assumed that the topic of service design was somewhat novel to most of you. And so I wanted to carefully sort of and very meticulously explain what it is in the context of all of the technology, AI, and digital transformation conversations we've been having. So without any further ado, let me just start. So Daniel Song, Chief Innovation Officer of HealthRede. HealthRede is a healthcare industry advisory services group focused on commercialization, digital transformation, and service design for payers, providers, and life sciences organizations. I've been a management consultant for over 20 years. I've held leadership roles at Accenture. I've led IBM Interactive, global head of consulting for EPAM Systems, and about a year and a half ago, I co-founded HealthRede with my business partner. So the theme for today is value innovation. I've been asked by Miratech, one of our HealthRede partner organizations, to talk about how to leverage service design to drive value innovation. So I'll start by describing what service design is, aside from the obvious fact that it entails the design of a service, which is true by definition and hence not particularly interesting or illuminating. In order to help those unfamiliar with the discipline better understand service design, and especially its role as a potential catalyst for value innovation, we need to look at the impact of technology on organizational operating models and business processes over time. So I began my consulting career in 1997 with Accenture at an early stage of the technology revolution. It was a time when lots of companies were migrating from mainframes to client-server applications. The internet was in its infancy, and mobile phones just hitting the mass consumer market. Company business models and processes were comparatively simple and straightforward relative to today's environment. And typical business challenges at the time revolved around how to best integrate new technologies into the organizational landscape. The means with which we accomplished this was by re-engineering business processes and implementing change management practices to help organizations effectively adopt these new technologies and systems. As management consultants, we developed corporate strategies, operating models, and change management initiatives around these new technologies to help our clients grow, gain efficiencies, and differentiate themselves from their competitors. So as the technology revolution transformed into the digital revolution and everything began migrating to the web and mobile platforms, a new discipline called user experience design emerged. UX design focused on creating user-centered as opposed to product or organization-centric experiences. The new interactive digital media, coupled with good UX design, also delivered richer experiences and content than anything that had preceded it. Its primary aim was to engage, inform, and even delight users while also increasing productivity through greater collaboration. Whereas UX design was typically application-specific, user or customer experience strategy, interchangeable terms as far as I'm concerned, focused on developing holistic and integrated experiences across an enterprise's various touchpoints and channels so as to create a targeted and consistent brand experience for customers and users as they navigated through different dimensions of these increasingly complex and multifaceted companies. Service design was born out of customer experience. The key differences between the two disciplines is that unlike customer experience strategy, service design can and often does incorporate every constituent in an organization, like customers, employees, and business partners, across all touch points as opposed to just digital ones. And it also deals with the strategic, conceptual, and physical design of offline channels and in-store or branch experiences, for example. The outputs of service design efforts typically consist of personas, journey maps. I think someone before said they weren't quite sure what they were. We can get into that in more detail later. And service models, which depict the touch points and manners in which various actors engage and experience the myriad products and services provided by an organization. In contrast, UX design efforts typically produce design patterns and frameworks, while IT strategy, business process reengineering, and change management initiatives typically deliver operating models, org designs like org charts and roles and responsibilities, as well as training and communications initiatives. Service design is the most recent manifestation of the evolving ways in which organizations try to adapt to increasingly disruptive technologies as they become more pervasive, indispensable, and transformational. Thus, one of the primary goals of service design is to harness the power of digital technologies to innovate services throughout the enterprise for maximum effect and impact. How exactly does service design deliver value innovation? First and foremost, by delivering personalized experiences catered to the specific wants and needs of the various constituents within its purview. Think of your favorite news or shopping portals where your personal history and preference feed new content and product recommendations. It provides data-fueled insights captured and rendered by digital technologies as users engage with them and one another to help drive constituent engagement and behavior, increase efficacy, and help achieve targeted measures and goals. An example of this can be found in the features of the navigation app Waze, which I'm sure everyone uses. Service design also simplifies complexity by seamlessly and effortlessly guiding people down curated pathways designed to help them achieve their goals. Think of your in-store shopping experience or Whole Foods or whatever supermarket you shop at, for example. Every aspect of the store layout, product placement, and customer navigation flows are painstakingly thought out in detail and planned through various service design efforts. Service design increases collaboration amongst its constituents by calibrating and harmonizing diverse and often competing objectives with the most appropriate tools, means, and measures. If you've ever visited a design agency, a digital design agency, the physical office space layout and configuration coupled with the team's collaborating technologies is a good illustration of this. And finally, human-centered interaction models put in place by service design invariably increase constituent satisfaction, which then permeates throughout the organization, producing even more positive outcomes. Talk to an employee of Facebook or Google if you need a confirmation of this theory. Both companies rank among the top 10 places to work based on employee satisfaction, and both are driven by organizational cultures which tout great service design. Service design, in this respect, effectively serves as a catalyst for organizational cultural transformation. Service design methods represent advances over the more traditional approaches I've alluded to and deliver greater value to its constituents than its predecessors. Specifically, service design improves organizational operating models by helping to make constituent roles and responsibilities clearer, not by decree or ordinance, which is never an effective change method, but by thoughtfully guiding individuals to the ends they seek. Likewise, an organizational design process becomes more fluid. In lieu of abstract org charts and team structures, reporting lines, and associated roles and responsibilities, service design teams work collaboratively with less formal structure to achieve both individual and collective goals, which are, in aggregate, optimally aligned to broader organizational objectives, clearly understood by everyone within the service model. This big picture view provided by service design imbues constituents with a greater awareness and understanding of the mission, provides a sense of purpose, and it helps to guide and motivate them in their journeys toward their ultimate objectives. Last but not least, I'll conclude with the technology impacts of service design, the two most important of which are related to IT portfolio management and information management. With respect to IT portfolio rationalization, service design, when properly executed, allows organizations to better optimize their IT portfolios by focusing on the technology services that truly matter and have meaningful impact. Service design can help to reveal IT portfolio gaps and redundancies more clearly, allowing IT departments to best configure, deploy, and maximize the value and impact of their technology assets. Similarly, service design can improve information management through precision. Constituent service models detail the essential information various actors need at key moments in their journeys. Like IT portfolios, information flows can also be rationalized and optimized by better aligning systems inputs and outputs with constituent needs. Whether the organization manages application databases, warehouses, or a data lake, service-designed enterprises will find it much easier to manage their information assets since they'll know how to best curate the data based on tangible and measurable needs, wants, and objectives. So that's the canned script. Now, just to prove that I'm an expert of the content itself and not just a script reader, I'd love to field some questions and demonstrate the fact that, this was just written at the last moment and I had to sort of do it this way. So please shoot. This is the only non-technology centric presentation. It's more focused on how to operationalize digital transformation. So hopefully there's some questions, my friend.
So in designing a service, sorry, so everybody can hear you. In designing a service in the context of all the innovation we've talked about so far today,
Yep.
and with a very thoughtful sense of the methodology you're flowing through here, what are you seeing as the aperture opening kind of moment? When does someone say, the way we've been thinking about service delivery before is no longer applicable, we're not going to optimize that, we're going to just kind of wipe the whiteboard off and do it over again and start it from scratch? Help me understand kind of where that complete makeover of a service comes in.
So typically what we find when we engage with clients and various teams within clients, the moment of truth for them is when they realize that the traditional sort of top-down operating models, which sort of mandate tasks, routines, and all of the sort of performance metrics are actually failing in the marketplace. They see other competitors that have much more fluid and dynamic operating models propelling ahead, and primarily it's due to sort of the increased creativity. I mean, we've been focusing a lot on productivity and all the gains that AI and technology delivers. What service design is meant to do from an operational perspective is unleash the creative talents of individuals, which is sort of like the perfect pairing with all the digital sort of engines that we need, because you need the input and the guidance to actually steer the technologies. And what service design enables is, that sort of freedom. And so the minute you say to an organization, you guys are falling behind your competitors because of X, Y, and Z, how do you want to do it? I mean, you'd be amazed at the amount of pent-up frustration that is just, articulated. And lots of times, if you learn how to channel and funnel that energy and anger sometimes, it can become a source of positive transformation, no doubt.
Are you talking about something as simple as people changing the physical space and the way people work together physically? In other words, what I've seen in a lot of older organizations is they've thrown out cubes. I mean, they're completely changing the physical environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, so physical experiences are one essential aspect of service design. When Bank of America bought Merrill Lynch during the financial crisis, I was involved with a service design effort for Merrill Lynch. And one of the things that they wanted to do was to actually try to create a unified client experience across these two very different organizations. One's a retail bank, and one's a wealth management firm that also focuses on very high net worth individuals. In the former, people are used to going to ATMs and tellers, et cetera. And in the latter, they're used to going to luxurious sort of, office spaces where they're meeting one-on-one with the advisors and their support teams, where they're getting handheld through various processes, harmonizing those experiences so that, those retail bank customers can eventually sort of migrate into the wealth management platform and vice versa. The whole notion of cross-sell and upsell and cross-pollinate your customers, that was, the physical experience was one core aspect of it. I mean, digital obviously is probably the most central, but I think where service design sort of veers away from traditional UX design and the operating model and IT strategy work that I alluded to is in its focus in all the different channels and mediums and touch points, especially the physical.
Yes. Come back to the mic. Last question.
So I like the idea of bringing together business process reengineering and UX and operating model work. But as I start to picture implementing that, I'm trying to picture what, and it sounds like there are elements of agile in there as well, maybe. I'm trying to picture what the team is like, because you've added all of this scope. Is there sort of an optimal scope of a team in terms of, take one service or one business unit or one region? How do you solve that problem so you don't end up with a team that's the entire company?
Yep. So the way that this has actually turned out to be most effective, so there's different ways. You can go top down or bottoms up. So sometimes you get hired by, a line of business or a specific, product owner within an organization to come service design their, specific area. What's most effective typically is when you do this at the most senior levels of the organization. So the Merrill Lynch example, we worked with, the C-suite. And we basically service designed the entire company at a very high level and then gave each of the respective departments and areas sort of the high level blueprint and then the mandate to sort of service design in micro detail their specific areas, but with alignment to the broader vision that we had sort of sketched out. The whole purpose of service design, unlike traditional methods, is not to create these meticulous blueprints that outline everything. It's supposed to provide sort of a thematic structure that provides, like, it targets what's commonly referred to as like moments of truths, right? Those things that like really matter, as opposed to the blueprints and the rule books and the manuals. If you target the moments of truths, which are those moments that actually have impact to people, that's all you really need to focus on. It's like literally, it's low-hanging fruit, but it's also the most essential, and it's the most likely to actually impact behavior and manifest itself through outcomes that you're trying to achieve. All right.